if you weren't holding that bracelet, that you would be less inclined to be honest with me within this conversation, or do you think maybe you would just be less likely to have the conversation?
I wouldn't say like less likely to have a conversation, but it enhances it.
Okay.
It's like a plus 10 like confidence boost.
Oh.
Hello, welcome to another episode of Atheist Vanguard. I am Derek Hawke.
And I'm Johnny.
I'm Shane Isgrig.
Awesome. Let's jump into today's interview.
Hi, welcome to the Atheist Vanguard. My name's Shane. What was your name?
Oh, my name's Kevin.
Kevin, good to meet you, man.
Yeah,
no, you're good.
Yeah.
So we're out here interviewing people about all kinds of beliefs that they hold. Is there a belief that you wanted to talk about?
Ooh, like God or tarot
It could
cards?
be, yeah,
or...
anything. So tarot cards would be interesting. God, whatever one you prefer.
Yeah. Oh, I like a mixture of both then.
All right, cool.
Yeah. Or like healing rocks, healing stones.
Healing rocks sounds like an interesting one for me, yeah.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
Okay, so tell me about that.
I guess one I'm wearing right now is chrysocolla, and this is good for like honest and open communication.
Okay.
That's why I'm doing this interview with you right now.
Okay. So do you think that if you weren't holding that bracelet, that you would be less inclined to be honest with me within this conversation, or do you think maybe you would just be less likely to have the conversation?
I wouldn't say like less likely to have a conversation, but it enhances it.
Okay.
It's like a plus 10 like confidence boost.
Okay, it gives you a little bit of a
That makes
confidence
sense?
boost.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you think that it's possible that there's a naturalistic explanation, like maybe wearing it and already having the idea strengthens this belief, or do you think what's most likely the case is there some, because it sounds like you were saying there was an energy that the rocks give you in the bracelet.
Yeah.
Okay, so it sounds like that's more what you hold to, is that there's some sort of energy that wearing the bracelet gives you, right?
Yeah, I would say in that sense, true. It's
Okay.
like you're a skateboarder, but like if you like Tony Hawk and then you look up to him, like, you know, you kind of makes you a better skateboarder. Like you feel that confidence, that energy, like, oh man, I could be like him. Or
For sure. Do you have examples of like days where you didn't wear the bracelet and you could kind of tell that you were less open about things? Or do you just wear the bracelet every day? Maybe it would be hard?
No, yeah. If I didn't wear the bracelet and then there was a cute girl and I didn't talk to her, it's like, damn, I should have worn that bracelet.
Okay,
Something
so
like
you would probably attribute a
Then-
lack of confidence.
yeah.
Do you ever have moments where you're lacking confidence and wearing the bracelet, or do you think usually when you wear the bracelet you have the confidence and usually without it you don't?
No, I would say I would have the confidence.
So okay, so you don't.
That's like where the belief comes in.
Really?
Having that
Okay.
energy.
So it's not just that it's more likely, it seems like it's actually the case that when you're wearing this bracelet, you don't have examples of lacking confidence. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, that is one hell of a bracelet. I will tell you that.
You can get it for like $8 at like any energy store. Yeah.
What was the name of the bracelet
It's called
again?
chrysocolla.
Chrysocolla.
Like Chris, C-H-R-Y-S.
Is it attached to any traditional religious belief, or is it kind of like its own thing?
It is definitely its own thing.
All right, well, it's definitely the first time I've heard of that specific belief. I love getting new beliefs. It's been a great conversation. I don't know if I could agree with you that the bracelet's the cause of your openness and honesty, but I would definitely say that I think you've been open and honest, and I appreciate the conversation.
Appreciate the interview.
All right, man. Awesome.
Awesome, awesome.
Right.
So Shane, thank you. This is actually a really interesting topic that I'm glad we have finally get to touch base on, because normally we are dealing with, we're engaging with our Christian friends or some of our Buddhist friends, some of our pagans, but
Honestly,
this is the first time, that we've actually had crystal healing.
Yep, it's the first crystal healing. I love when we get something that I haven't heard of before, because a lot of the time we get a lot of, Christianity, but to be honest with you, recently we've been getting all kinds of stuff outside of Christianity, which is good because I want to address multiple different beliefs.
Yeah.
But onto the crystal healing, this crystal was called a chrysocolla.
Chrysocolla.
And I did a little bit of research on it. My understanding is that you guys did as well.
Yep.
That's right.
Okay.
So we are going to lead off with our newest member, Johnny. Thank you very much.
Yeah, what was the first thing that caught your attention in this interview?
Well, the first thing that caught my attention was the name. Chrysocolla. Sounded like Greek. It means gold glue. Chrysos, gold. Cola means glue, I guess, which makes me cautious about drinking Coca-Cola. But that also, he seemed really, I had never heard of it before. He seemed really positive, seemed really benefited from it. At least in his mind, he did.
Yeah.
And I think it's something we had actually talked about before. It came off to me as a magic feather.
Yes.
Like Dumbo's magic feather. That was
Yeah.
the first thought. And when I talked with you guys just before the show, you had the same thought as well.
Yeah. What first thought that came to my mind was the child and the teddy bear at night.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, like so we have a child who's scared of the dark, and you give them a teddy bear. Can they sleep without the teddy bear? Yeah. Can they sleep better with the teddy bear? Probably. Is the monster going to get them without the teddy bear? Probably not. But you know, there's this psychosomatic thing going on here.
Pretty good analogy for it, because I think what you're saying is that no, the child isn't actually safer with the teddy bear, but having the teddy bear makes the child feel safer, and that's why giving the child a teddy bear, you know, produces the best outcome.
Correct.
So,
Yep.
Okay, I understand that. That's actually good analogy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I really like the questioning.
Thank you.
I don't think he took that. I'm guessing that he took that his views were challenged or disrespected in any way. But you really wanted to find out, you know, how far does this go?
Well, challenged maybe, but yeah, not in a disrespectful way.
No,
for sure.
no.
I mean,
Correct.
Definitely a mutual respect between me and Kevin. I believe his name was Kevin.
Yes, it was. Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Yeah. No, he was definitely, you know, one of the nicest people I've interviewed, and I can understand why he would have this idea that he was getting his honesty and his openness from something if he had been told that that bracelet enhanced it.
Yeah.
My idea is that Kevin's actually just a really honest and open guy, and he's also just a really positive character.
Yeah.
And, you know, he has an idea that something strengthens that, and that makes him like the idea. And then he sees examples of himself having those qualities and goes, wow, look, it's true.
This is such a huge plot device in a lot of literature where you see somebody coming across either a talisman, a necklace, crystal, a sword, or some type of weapon where it seems that, you know, that they can't perform to this level of heroism without this object, when you come to find out that it's always within you. These powers are always within you. The one that comes to mind right now is an old movie from the early 80s called Dragon Slayer, you know, where his master dies and puts his power into crystal, and he believes that he can't do anything with this crystal, but the power is always within him.
Well, two things that pop to mind when you say that, I'm thinking of Sauron's ring, of course, right? Although that actually, in the mythology of Lord of the Rings, it's actually imbued with actual power, and when he loses the ring, he loses everything, and that might be, in a way, how Kevin feels about it.
Right.
But maybe it's more like Dorothy's ruby slippers, right?
Yeah.
At the end, you could have gone home at any time.
Yeah.
But she made friends along the way, I guess. So
now, let me ask you this. If you were to click your heels 3 times, would you want to go back to Kansas, or would you have some other better place to go?
I'd like to go someplace else. But, you know, I've been to Kansas. It was, you know, a healthy, wholesome, crop-growing place.
Okay.
We've probably eaten bread made from wheat from Kansas.
Okay, you're not convincing me. Shane, what do you know about chrysocolla? What is it? Where does it come from? How is it used?
So the claims go everything from boosting confidence and openness, like he was talking about, to relieving anxiety, to more concerningly actually having the ability to reduce physical pain. And that's where I really became concerned. So I looked up a lot of the claims of the properties of chrysocolla, right? And the thing about this is there are so many that go so far beyond anything that he was talking about that I want to make sure that I'm not misrepresenting what he was talking about. But it is the same crystal that he was referring to. And so I don't think that I am, because he was describing the same thing.
Yeah.
So for me, what was most concerning is what I found, that the claim that women have found that pain during the menstrual cycle may be relieved by placing the stone on the abdomen, and that's something that could be tested, right? If something could actually reduce pain or reduce swelling. And so the claims went pretty far, and I read that it could reduce or prevent skin irritation, like hives. Again, no science behind that.
Correct.
Just a claim. And
one thing I wish that we had. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
My bad, yeah. I just think it's concerning when people are attributing medical value to something that doesn't actually have any.
Right. I wish I had gotten a close-up of the bracelet. I'd really like to see it. What does the stone look like?
It was a beautiful stone. I would probably pay $8 for that bracelet just because it was a good-looking bracelet. I wouldn't have any belief to it.
What did it look like? I mean, what color was it?
Like a turquoise blue kind of. Yeah,
okay.
it was a really...
Now, I don't like to crap on people's beliefs so much. Well, I kind of do, but that's for another...
On the beliefs, but not the people.
Correct, correct. Why is it, why come, Johnny? Why come? Why come all these stones that have all these properties are pretty and gorgeous and shiny, and all the ugly ones don't do nothing?
There's no coincidence
Why
there.
Why can't I go out to that parking lot and pick up this little nasty little gray, ugly stone?
There's no
and
fun in that.
it does something magical for me.
Because people are attributing qualities to the stones that they want to. And I mean, why would you choose to carry around a regular looking rock when you could just get some? I mean, if you find something and it's like this beautiful, shiny green, I mean, between that and the first rock you see on the street outside, what are you going to say? Well, if one of these is magical, it must be this one because it's more appealing to my eyes. But really, that's just because you want it to be.
How about this, Johnny? So Shane had bring up an earlier argument that that these rocks have been around for millions of years, and all these energies have passed through them, and there must have retained.
That's not what I.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I had to correct you because what I was saying is that's an apologetic that people
and that's what I'm.
Okay, I just wanted to.
So the apologetic argument is that these rocks have been here for millions of years,
right?
And in that time, all this energy has passed them, and they must have retained some of that energy, and there must be some benefits that we must harness. So what? So the other rocks are just as old and have gone through so much energy transference. You know, what's the difference?
I think. What is the difference?
Yeah.
I don't see that there is any difference.
That's kind of the point.
One's pretty and one's not.
Yeah.
You know, I've been interested in mythology for quite some time, and one thing that I was reading is the Golden Bow. And in that book, it's problematic in parts. He's very paternalistic, very ethnocentric. However,
so what is the Golden Bow? Backtrack a little bit.
It's essentially the Golden Bow is a book that's sort of a comparative mythology text. James Fraser is the author. He never left his home. He had a sick wife he was taking care of, but he would get reports back from missionaries that would go to different countries around the world and report back on the different mythological traditions, religious traditions. And he compiled that into a series of books, or one large book. And if you want to read a snarky British imperialist, aristocratic snob kind of view of other people's cultures, go ahead and read that. It's a lot of fun in a horrible way, but he does report back some interesting practices of people around the world, and you got to take it with a grain of salt, of course. And one of the things that he talks about is sympathetic magic, right? Something looks like something, therefore it will give you those things associated powers. We've heard of, I drink snake venom, and I have, much crum, much...
You know the riddle of steel.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I'm thinking, pardon me, these stones are beautiful. They look like clear, open blue skies. They look like healthy green grass fields. Fertility, health, beautiful colors, and therefore also they will transfer those beautiful things unto me, and I will have clarity, openness, like an open sky, like the turquoise of the chrysocolla. I think in early human development, maybe they made these connections, they found these rocks, they were beautiful.
They do stand out, yeah.
Yeah. There's no doubt that these crystals, these stones are gorgeous.
Right.
And I have a collection of them, a small collection of them myself. I pick them solely based upon their beauty. And do I have room for it? But I don't believe that there's any healing properties to them.
So I have a question for you, Shane.
What's up?
So this guy, I mean, apparently he believes that he's getting some benefit out of this chrysocolla. He's not hurting anybody. So why should we be concerned about, these beliefs or these type of things?
Well, I'm glad that you asked me that, because I think that I have a problem with the belief in chrysocolla having healing properties for the same reason I have a problem with people believing in faith healing. I think the people who are promoting the idea are not trying to cause harm. I think their intentions are obviously the opposite. They want to promote something that they think helps them. The problem is, once you have something that you believe is going to cure or even treat your symptoms, you might not go any farther in terms of treating your own symptoms because you think that you're actively doing something to treat them when in reality you're not. So, you know, this talked about, like I mentioned earlier, it claims that it can help women with menstrual pain if they put it on their abdomen. That's concerning to me because of anybody that should be taking ibuprofen, you know, whatever, something that is actually verified to reduce pain, might not take any because they go, okay, well, I don't have any ibuprofen, but I don't need to go to the store because I have some Chrysocolla.
I would imagine that in any situation where you are having abdominal pains, the first thing should not be to put a rock on your stomach, but go see a doctor.
Right. Well, and it also, it says all kinds of things. Like I mentioned, preventing hives. It says it's used for anxiety relief. And if it's not actually proven to relieve your anxiety, then, you know, same thing. It's concerning. And it reminds me of why I'm as passionate about skepticism as I am.
Yeah.
Because obviously somebody believing something that is not true will cause them to act based on that belief.
Right.
And in this case can be consequential because it can prevent the person from getting what they actually need. So,
awesome. Now, Johnny, did you do any research on the actual origins of Chrysocolla, some of the associated mythology, some of the properties of it? Maybe, you know, is there any practical uses for this rock, or is it a mineral, an ore, or whatnot? To me, it sounds like a tea. I would have thought it's like, I'm gonna have some of that Chrysocolla tea. I'm feeling a little under the weather. I'm gonna have some Chrysocolla in me.
Yeah, I want some echinacea. I want some Chrysocolla. Let's mix it up with some ginseng. Yeah,
echinacea is good though.
Yeah, I don't think that I didn't find any actual practical uses for it. Did you find some?
Well, I looked very hard. I wanted to let you finish your answer though, because I don't want to cut you off. But how much did you look for any scientific, you know, any evidence that it had any healing properties?
I did a bit of research for that.
Did you find anything supporting it?
No.
Okay,
I didn't.
And that's kind of my point though. So I don't want to go as far as claiming Chrysocolla has no healing properties because that gives me a burden of proof, and I don't believe that I can prove a negative in that sense. What I will say is, especially in the field of medicine, the burden of proof lies on the claim that something is benefiting you. If you cannot prove that something is benefiting you, I don't have to prove that it doesn't. And the burden of proof always applies as a fallacy, but in the field of medicine, oh my God, that is really important.
Yeah.
Well, some of the things that I did find, and this wasn't about Chrysocolla per se, so it's a little off, but it's on point to the extent that it's talking about crystal healing.
Okay, that's what I was about to ask.
And one thing I found was a pediatrician called John Snyder, okay? And he was talking about claims that amber necklaces, when placed on children, can help lessen pain, right?
Let's stop you real quick. Amber necklaces, is that the amber sap that comes up from a tree?
I believe it's the fossilized.
Okay. I like where
like in Jurassic Park, where Jurassic Park, where the little bug is in there.
I believe so.
Okay. And what does it propose? What this amber necklace are supposed to do?
So what it's supposed to do is supposed to lessen pain.
Okay.
Now, Snyder did his research and he found that amber does contain succinic acid. Succinic acid, right? And that can be absorbed through the skin. However, there's no evidence that succinic acid produces any therapeutic effect, and the amount that the amber stone actually emits is so minute. There was no indication that it would have benefited a patient anyway.
That really ties into it, like exactly what I wanted to talk about next.
Yeah,
so
let me jump in real quick. Let me jump in real quick. So if I were to hand you some lead paint and I rub it all over you and you got sick and I say that I cursed you, is that kind of like the same thing we're saying, kind of like along the lines?
Yeah, no, that's a good analogy, just a negative version instead of a
negative
positive
version.
one.
Yeah, I'm good at the negative. But yeah, it's like, and so there are there are possibility there are certain circumstances where there are physical properties that make, that there are biological interfaces going on that could be beneficial. Just like we know that there's certain things that are poisonous just by physical contact, not even just ingesting, but just physical contact. So could there just be possible origins of this type of thing?
That's a possibility.
Well, that's one thing that I wanted to look at. And so as a skeptic, I, don't start with the belief. I want to be convinced first. But I was very open-minded to the idea because there are certain essential oils or, herbs that do actually have healing properties that we have naturalistic explanations for. It's just that people attribute supernatural explanations to them. So, people could use an herbal oil for something. And so eucalyptus is a perfect example of it. It has anti-inflammatory properties. It has calming properties. Relieves a cold. Now, there's also superstition attached to eucalyptus.
Yeah, exactly.
So my point is that somebody could be using eucalyptus and think that they're healing themselves and be right, but just be wrong about why. So I wanted to consider that with the chrysocolla. But with that being said, could not find any science to back it up.
So let's take that scenario, and I'll give it to you. You are a skeptic. You know nothing about lead and everything, and I come to you and say that I'm a witch doctor and that you have wronged me in some way, and I'm going to curse you, and I put this powder on you that contains lead that you don't know it, and you actually get sick. And I say that I have did my juju magic on you. You're sick and you're cursed. As a skeptic, how would you come to the truth, or at least come to a different conclusion that there is something that is going on aside from magic?
Right. So for starters, I wouldn't be able to really know, but I would consider the likeliness that somebody putting something on me and saying you're going to be sick and me getting sick shortly after, that there would probably be more than just some correlation there. For the same reason, if somebody told me they put something in my drink and then I started hallucinating, I would see that that was probably more than just correlation there, right? Now, I would actually probably believe that that person did something that was toxic, or something that had poison in it, such as lead, like you mentioned, right? Now you're giving me a scenario where I don't know about what lead is.
Correct.
So I would sooner assume, or presume, I should say, that whatever she did was poisonous, but there was a naturalistic explanation.
No, it was a he. It was me.
Why it was doing
me.
it.
I'm doing this. I'm doing this to you.
So Derek,
give credit where credit's due.
I would assume that what you did was in fact poisonous, but I wouldn't think that there was anything supernatural involved. I would think it was just a poison that exists physically.
All right, Johnny. Same situation, same question.
Different answer. I'm just kidding. Whatever.
I wouldn't assume that there's any kind of. Well, give me an example of how would it happen exactly.
You pissed me off, and I say that I have magic. I have great magic. I have great power. I'm going to curse you. And so without you knowing it, and you don't know anything about lead, you don't know anything about poison, and I do my magic on you, and I poison you with this, with this cream or whatever, this powder.
Do I know about lead? Do I know that
you do not know about lead? You don't know. And I say, I'm just saying, I'm cursed you. Or you see the movies where they come up to you and like blow powder, and then you become a zombie, kind of like that. And so I say that
there was a wrestler in the 80s that used to do that.
My favorite part of these hypotheticals is in every one of them, Derek's already has the lead on his own hands.
Right.
Notice he's doing this.
Well, I got gloves. I got gloves.
Yeah, no, just
I got black.
that in
I got
there.
black
I saw
gloves.
that one coming.
I got black
He's
gloves.
like, I have a glove.
But basically, I'm proposing to you that I have certain supernatural powers, and that this is your consequences for wronging me, and then as a result, you get sick or
Sure. Well,
as a skeptic, how would you come to a conclusion that it is not magic but something else?
As a skeptic, well, I guess I would have to construct some sort of experiment. I mean, there's the burden of the burden of proof. I have to assume that. I guess it's not the burden of proof.
Yeah, that's the answer right there.
Yeah, I mean,
I
don't believe things until
the proof is that I made this claim and I made you sick.
Right. Well, there's a lot to unpack with that whole scenario. First of all, not even as a skeptic, just as a person, okay? We exist together in a community, and the idea that you would curse me is going to affect me emotionally and psychologically. Even if I don't know you very well, right? Even if I don't know you at all, and someone walk up to me, you're a stranger, and you say you're cursed, well, that's going to affect my emotional well-being, isn't it? And I'm going to start carrying around, what did I do to deserve it? I think if you're honest, you're going to do a personal audit of your actions of the day, like in the background. Oh, did I cut somebody off? Did I say screw you? Whatever it might be. So on that level, I think I would be affected. Now, that increases stress in the body, right? By whatever mechanism, we know that stress can have a deleterious effect upon well-being, both physical and mental. Now, as a skeptic, I'm the same person, but I don't know anything about lead somehow, or I don't know what it is you rubbed on me, and I start feeling bad about it, I'm going to make those connections in my head, I think. But I'm going to go to the doctor. That's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to say, why am I feeling bad?
Yeah.
I'm not going to assume it's a curse.
Right.
Because I have to be proven that curses are real, and there is a burden of proof that has not been met yet. At least for me, I haven't seen anything that establishes that.
So here's an important point that I want to call out in these scenarios. There is an element of dishonesty on my part because I know what I did, but I'm claiming it as something else. Now, all the situations where we come across people where that they say that they prayed and something happened, I don't believe there's a dishonesty, but there is definitely a broken connection there. When we do see like prosperity preachers doing this bullshit, when we see people that are trying to push an agenda, there is an element of dishonesty. When we see a manufacturer who's selling Chrysocola for $8 and a bracelet, making these claims, I can guarantee you they know that it is a pretty
I don't
rock.
think that you can guarantee that because
I can be pretty close. I can.
Well,
my confidence is high.
okay, well,
My confidence is high that this manufacturer knows that they are selling this to make a profit, not to make people better.
A little bit of my SE on you. Let's just say that it was the case that the people who were selling this also believed it. How would you be able to tell the difference?
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So, for example, like you agreed with me that you don't think Kevin was being dishonest, for example, right? Now, isn't it plausible to you that somebody like Kevin might one day start selling Chrysocola?
Kevin encouraged you to
just
pick
think
some
about
up,
it. If it helps him, if he believes that it helps him, don't you think he might want to help other people?
He'd be a promoter of it, absolutely, yeah.
Right, but don't you think somebody can become passionate about crystals and because they're passionate about them, start selling them? That's what I'm saying.
It could be an element. I don't think it's the main drive, but that's just, again, that's not based on anything other than my own personal opinion.
Okay.
And an experience. Especially with my experience in supplements, in homeopathic therapies.
Well, I'm always reluctant to assume somebody's lying, right? It's kind of like when somebody tells me a ghost story. I believe that they saw something that they can't explain. I just don't believe that it was a ghost. So that's what I'm trying to take into consideration with even the people selling it.
I think that's another burden right there. I think you shouldn't assume bad action until there's proof.
Well, bad intention. I would call it bad action.
Bad intention.
But
right,
yeah,
bad
intention.
I've just in my travels, especially with the faith healing, with religious leaders claiming that they see mentally ill people as demon possessed. I believe that there are bad intentions, and I think there is an element of dishonesty so that they can propagate their agenda or their religious ideals. I've had preachers tell me
that exists.
I've told this story before, but when I was younger, our preacher would tell us how, as a younger man, he would go into the state hospitals to minister to the mentally ill, and he claimed that when he showed up, all the activity in the hospital would rise, and there would be people banging on their windows, claiming that they saw a man covered in blood. I do not believe that happened. I believe that he was lying, and I believe that he was lying so that he could make a story to tell to his congregation about how holy he was, and about how that there is a literal washing of the blood and covering of an imaginary blood, so that he could propagate his message to his congregation.
I'm agreeing with you that exists and that it's common. I'm just saying that you have to look at every individual differently. They're on their own draft.
Yeah, and I do make associations with that type of thing versus this type of thing.
There have been times when I talk to pastors and I start wondering, does this guy believe what he's saying? Because it's starting to sound like he doesn't really believe it.
Right.
But I don't really know that.
Right, I don't know that. I am assuming that people that make that make a living off of selling this stuff, there is an element of dishonesty. That they know that this is a fad. They know that there is a clientele of people that believe this, and they are that they are satisfying a need of a certain percentage of population that believe this, and they're making a profit of it. I do believe that.
I don't think it's an unreasonable belief, but I do think that you run the danger of somebody who really believes it, who really believes that they're helping, who thinks that they've cued into a miracle cure, who doesn't have a good skeptical basis for thinking about things.
Right.
Okay.
And when you approach that person, you might approach them as a liar, where the better way might be to approach them as, well, let's go through this. Let's see if this is.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, and that's what we do.
Right.
But then we also have to consider what we were brought up with Shane earlier: is like how can these beliefs be harmful?
Right. So that's what's mostly important to me is how does believing in this actually impact you in your life? And then we kind of we go from there. Then we go to like, okay, well, how do you know this? And then we start figuring out more from there. But
exactly,
it's not an either-or situation.
I would say we definitely can't say. I don't want to make any all statements about the people selling it, so I don't want to claim that all people selling it believe it. I think there's going to be a mixture of both as far as the people that are doing it to deceive and the people that really believe it themselves. Like, it's definitely, there's going to be a mix. And who's to say what the percentage is?
But our skeptical approach should be the same whether they believe it or not.
Exactly. And the skeptical approach is going to remain the same. So that's why when you get a claim, just start off with, even if you don't know whether or not this person believes in it themselves, just look at the claim itself, see if the claim has any valid reasoning behind it or evidence. And if you don't find any, then say that you're left without any reason to believe it. And that's where I am with the Chris-Cola.
Yeah.
You know?
Now, I don't want to leave the impression that I believe that Kevin was dishonest or had any ulterior motives, in this.
I definitely don't.
But I question, the upper. If you look down, upstream a little bit more, the people that are propagating this, the people that are making these scientific claims, that are selling this, that are making, because again, we live in a society where thankfully, a lot of these things are governed by some type of regulation. These are not. Right. Supplements are not. Homeopathic therapies are not.
Right.
But so we have to be really careful. Whereas you have things that are making are making claims that they do things that benefit your body, but are not regulated. That's where you have to be really concerned and overtly scrutinize them.
Yeah.
Can I add to that though? I want to be very careful when I say this. Just because the government hasn't chosen to regulate it, just because it isn't being controlled by a federal or state agency related to health, doesn't mean that it does not have beneficial effects.
Correct.
New drugs come out, new discoveries are made, and there's a process for the FDA or the USDA, whatever it might be,
correct,
that particular thing, to come in, test it, and to see if it works.
Correct.
We also know that something like marijuana can be very effective for pain relief, right? But there are countervailing interests in keeping it illegal, right? Whether you agree with it or not, there are reasons that people have for making it illegal, even if it has largely proven pain relief effects.
But I'm going to counter that. There are no movements whatsoever that are directing these type of products to go through that process, because they will have to, if they are going to meet that medicinal level of characterization, they're going to have to go through that process regardless. There is no initiative whatsoever for Chris-Cola to be going under that process, or any healing stone, or any homeopathic therapy. But I see your point. Absolutely. There has to be a start, but that's when we start legitimizing these, because everything started off from ancient people picking off bark and finding that there's salicylic acid is another one, white willow bark is another one, Garcinia cambodia is another one. That they are herbal properties that have benefits. Whether it be weight loss, whether it be pain relief. Ginkgo biloba is another one. Actually, they tell you if you are on certain types of heart medication or antidepressants, do not take ginkgo biloba, because there are properties in it, and those are unregulated. So yeah, I definitely see your point.
Yeah,
but I will never. I don't think I'll ever see a rock being assessed by the FDA, because it elevates your mood and makes you more social. And
shoot, I saw maybe
a jeweler, maybe
10 years ago. I saw Jerry Lewis appear on one of those Tonight shows. Remember Jerry Lewis, the
with his
comedian?
kids?
No, just Jerry Lewis by himself.
Just by himself. Okay.
And he had been out of the limelight for some time, and I guess he wasn't doing well. He had some chronic pain, and he was advocating for some sort of bracelet or
copper.
Was it a copper bracelet?
Yeah, copper.
Was it a bracelet or was it an insert that did electric shock into his system? I don't know if it was with a battery-powered thing or if it was just a copper bracelet that had electricity in it and shocked his system. And he was, and of course they let him on that late-night program, and he reached millions of people and probably educated in quotation marks millions of people into the healing properties of this bracelet. People who may have reached out, gone through the difficult process of finding a doctor to identify what the source of their pain was, and go through the difficult process of testing different medication, and there's problems with that. Jerry Lewis was presenting it as, you get this bracelet, you put it on, and you're good. Yeah.
And I'm with Shane, kind of the same type of thing where I have problems with that when a celebrity goes on and touts these type of things.
Totally.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, I have a problem with any claim that isn't true being promoted, but especially...
And we have so many mechanisms for testing this. If this is going to alleviate pain...
Right, well, that's kind of what I'm getting at with the Chrysocolla thing, is that, like, if something is able to relieve physical pain can actually be measured. So I imagine of all the people that believe in the healing properties of Chrysocolla, if you would like to put a skeptic in his place, then go get some evidence, send it to me, just comment in the show, I'll find it. And if you find some healing properties with scientific evidence, I mean, I will sit corrected. I'm not going to stand because I sit on this show, but I will sit corrected, and I will admit that I was wrong. And you'll hear me admit that I was wrong and you were right, and I'll say your name if you want to. You'll be the one that proved me wrong. But until you can do that, I don't believe you.
Yeah, and I'm not advocating for taking away little kids' teddy bears. If that lets them sleep, let them keep it.
Other action
I'm not going to comment on that.
I'm not going to take away your teddy bear, Shane.
It's an elephant.
Oh,
if you knew me, you'd know what stuffed animals I had. But
I don't know what you have in your bedroom.
Well, you don't know me enough then.
I don't know you enough.
Because I am not a closed book. All right.
So there are lots
What do you have in your bedroom?
Nope. Don't listen to him. I don't care if he's the host. I'm taking over. Don't listen to him. Move on. What were you going to say?
What I was going to say was there's a lot of things like this that aren't crystal healing or magical healing type of things. And
the cross comes to mind.
The cross does come to mind, but again, I would see it as a kind of a placebo benefit. Again, mental well-being can lead sometimes to physical well-being to an extent. But there's lots of foods that we hear about, right? I used to know somebody who, well, I still know them, I guess, but I used to hang out with somebody who said, you eat gluten, therefore you're unhealthy. And I'm like, why? I don't feel like I have any problems with gluten allergy, what have you. No, gluten's toxic. It's poisonous. And if you go gluten-free, all your chakras are going to open, type of thing, and you'll reach the fifth rung of the ladder to enlightenment, kind of thing.
Are you not aware that what gluten does?
What does it do?
Have you seen the South Park episode?
No, I haven't.
Oh, well, South Park warns what gluten does. I don't know. I'm not going to say it on air. You know what?
Okay. I'll check it out.
Check it out.
I'll check it out.
That's what it does.
Kombucha.
Not really.
Is really big. I drink
kombucha. What's kombucha?
You don't know what kombucha is?
What's kombucha?
It's a fermented tea, and it tastes great. I mean, it kind of tastes like garbage water.
It tastes like alcohol. If you
don't
an
alcoholic tea.
If it's like 0.something% alcohol. If you
Can
don't
it
like
get you
alcohol,
drunk?
no. If you don't like alcohol, you won't like kombucha. But kombucha is pretty good.
I used to call it garbage water because it kind of smells like the water at the bottom of your garbage can.
People
leave it out in the
greatly exaggerate its benefits.
Where's it originate from?
I think it's Russian in origin, but it might be Chinese.
I have no idea.
Kombucha's not Russian. That doesn't sound Russian to me.
Well,
I make all sorts of claims.
Are you a Russian?
I'm just doing this just to piss Shane off. I make all these unsubstantiated claims. That's not Russian.
Well, you can get it at just about any grocery store here in Austin, kombucha. And I like the flavor. It comes with different purees that you can enhance the flavor with. But there are many claims made about it.
Yes.
The probiotic claim and all the amazing things that probiotics can do as the science is still developing.
My understanding is that it does contain probiotics. It's just that they're exaggerating what the probiotics do.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. We're still learning what benefits probiotics can do. And perhaps what drawbacks, I don't know. But there are scientists that are investigating this.
Well, I'm pretty sure probiotics help with the immune system. If I'm wrong, please correct me
and digestion.
In the comments.
Oh, sure, but how far does that extend? They help with the immune system and digestion. We could say that with some level of casual confidence, but scientists are actually figuring out how that does that.
Right. Well,
and this piggybacks into the next topic I want to talk about. So we have these rocks and these crystals that supposedly have these benefits. So what is the mechanism in which these benefits are transferred? And if they so right now we're skeptical on the claims. Is it possible that there are energies that these crystals contain or emit or whatnot, and that we just don't have the diagnostic tools to detect them yet?
I did research on this.
Oh, awesome!
All right, I'll let you answer first.
We are just on this ESPN thing. We're in sync. You have
ESPN. Is that where you whisper into a microphone?
Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead, Johnny. Tell me what you're thinking.
In this energy healing crystal,
we got Wonder Twin powers to activate, man.
There's an idea that your mental state, your psychological state resonates certain kinds of energies. Your body resonates certain kind of energies. If you affect the mental state, you can affect the physical state, that there are harmonies in the universe.
So you're talking about homeostasis.
I don't know if I am.
A balance.
Perhaps.
A balance. So it's a system, whether it be just your own organism, whether it be your environment, whether it be a world, whether it be a universe, you can bring it up, but there's a balance that is attained.
Right.
And your involvement or influence in that balance.
Okay.
Right. And so there are these energies radiating in the universe, which is, I thought it was positive. The universe seems to be considered a good. Right? And existence is considered a good, which is kind of nice because in some religious traditions, the universe and the world is seen as an evil. So these crystals have intense energies, it's said, and they radiate these energies. And by putting yourself in close approximation with these energies, you can harmonize your own energies with the crystal's energy.
Okay. So
this sounds like it's easily testable.
Right. Well, that's one thing that I wanted to bring up is that energy is something that we could actually measure physically. So the argument that people make, because I was looking up all kinds of crystal healing websites, right? Because I wanted to look at the claims themselves. And there were actually a lot of apologetics for what to say if somebody says, oh, they're just rocks. There are things to say, So one of the common ones is they say that crystals, they're just rocks. They say no. Crystals have been around for longer than humanity, which I don't reject. That's true. They say crystals are millions of years old, which, like I said earlier, doesn't separate them from other rocks. Other rocks are that old.
Yeah.
But then they say, so they're stating the age of it. They say that crystals are millions of years old, and then think about how much energy has moved around on Earth in its time. Then they say it would be silly to think that some of that energy wasn't stored in the crystals.
And not other rocks.
Not the rocks, right.
Not the other rocks.
Thing that
just only the pretty ones.
I notice when I read this argument is that it commits that composition or composition division fallacy, which is where it's saying that crystals are on Earth, energy is on Earth, right? So it's arguing that therefore, that crystals have been on Earth for millions of years, and a lot of energy has moved around on Earth for that long, and therefore the crystals have energy. So saying that Earth has energy on it, crystals are on Earth, therefore crystals have energy, is that composition fallacy. And a better illustration of the fallacy is me saying that this wall is made out of bricks, and this brick is red, therefore the wall is red. Now, the other way around would be true, maybe. But when you say that because this brick is red, therefore the wall is red, no. This brick being red does not prove that the rest of the wall is. So another thing that I can't help but think when people talk about rubbing a crystal on themselves and getting some energy off of it is the law of conservation of energy, conservation of matter. I mean, the same law, right? The law of conservation works this way. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. So if you had a crystal and it stored energy and you got energy off of it, it would run out eventually. But you don't see these, you know, you don't see anybody realizing, okay, well, this crystal doesn't work anymore. Surely there has to be a point where you realize that that crystal ran out of the energy that you're getting off of it, but you never hear about that happening.
This reminds me, I went to a dance party a couple months ago. I don't know why I didn't think about this earlier. I went to a dance party a couple months ago, and there was a gent who was selling all kinds of beautiful rocks and crystals. And, you know, I like rocks and crystals, and I walked up to him, and I looked at what he had, and I said, those are really pretty. And he said, oh, yeah, you know, this one here, it's really fantastic. You can put it on your cell phone, right? And it will block all the radiation. And I said, oh, okay. How do you make telephone calls then? Oh, no, it just blocks the bad radiation.
Just the bad radiation.
So like 5G, that's
there's good radiation and there's bad radiation.
Yeah, obviously. And so there's the 5G, they've solved it, right? But is that a 3G or a 4G phone? Like it's a 4G phone. Well, yeah, the 4G's got the good and the bad. And this, with this stone, is you actually has a sticker on the back, and you can put it on your phone, and it's going to block that.
Yeah.
And I said, well, what do you do at the end? Like, is it just like this storehouse, like of terrible toxic radiation? Should I take it to like a nuclear waste facility, you know? And I didn't say that, but.
So this is where I come in where, you know, yes, I may make substantiated claims, but to me, I'm going to assume that this guy, there's a little bit of dishonesty with this guy, and he's just trying to sell a product. And this is where,
with this guy?
Yeah,
Oh,
and this is where I have problems with these type of things.
I would say, yeah,
where
that guy
you have
probably,
problems with basically, you know, the overall, you know, if you're going to make a claims that is healthy, you know, again, I have the same problem
the
with you.
medical value.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great episode, guys. Thank you
Great
very much.
conversation.
Welcome
Thank you
to the
so much
show.
for being
Welcome
here
to the
today.
show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it was spectacular. Yep.
Right.
Keep bringing those beautiful rocks. We love. Again, I don't want to. The Atheist Vanguard is not anti-rock. We love pretty rocks.
Love to rock.
We love it, and we love to rock. Rock on. Take care. We'll see you next time. Please like and subscribe. We'll see you next time. Bye bye.